There is a truth about people that most never accept. Not because it's hidden, not because it's complicated, but because it hurts too much to admit. It's easier to ignore it, easier to deny it, easier to replace it with hope. But sooner or later, reality forces its way in. And when it does, it doesn't ask for permission, it simply reveals itself. The truth is harsh. You were never special to them. You were just convenient. At first, that feels impossible to believe, because you remember everything. The conversations, the late-night talks, the laughter, the connection. It felt real. It felt deep. It felt like something that mattered. And maybe, for a moment, it did. But feelings alone don't define reality. Consistency does. Effort does. Actions do. And when you look back, not at what they said, but at what they did, a different picture begins to form. You start noticing patterns. How they showed up when it was easy. How they disappeared when it required effort. How they were present when they needed something, and distant when they didn't. And slowly, you begin to understand. It was never about you. It was about what you provided. Your attention, your time, your energy, your presence. You were there when they needed someone. You listened. You cared. You gave. And in return, they stayed. But only as long as it was convenient. Only as long as it benefited them. Because convenience is powerful. It creates comfort. It removes effort. It gives people exactly what they want, without requiring anything in return. And once someone becomes convenient, they become easy to keep. But also, easy to lose. Because convenience does not create attachment. It creates dependence. Temporary, conditional. And the moment the condition changes, the connection fades. This is why things felt different over time. Why the effort decreased. Why the energy shifted. Why the connection slowly lost its depth. Because once they got used to you, once they knew you would always be there, once they realized they didn't have to try, you became part of their routine. Not a priority, not something they had to protect, but something they could access whenever they wanted. And anything that can be accessed anytime loses its value. Not because it isn't valuable, but because it feels replaceable. This is the reality most people avoid. You weren't special. You were available, and availability without boundaries creates convenience. And convenience rarely leads to respect. It leads to comfort, and comfort leads to neglect. Because people don't protect what feels guaranteed. They don't fight for what doesn't feel like it can be lost. They don't value what is always there, no matter what they do. So slowly, without even realizing it, they start taking you lightly. They respond less. They try less. They invest less. Because in their mind, you're not going anywhere. And that removes the need for effort. But for you, it feels different. You notice the change. You feel the distance. You sense something is off. But instead of stepping back, you step forward. You try harder. You give more. You become even more available, hoping that it will bring things back to how they were. But it doesn't, because the problem was never a lack of effort. It was the imbalance of it. You were giving more than they ever needed to give. And that imbalance created the dynamic, a dynamic where you were investing, and they were receiving, where you were trying, and they were deciding, where you were holding on, and they were slowly letting go. And the more you tried to fix it, the more you reinforced it, because you showed them that no matter how little they gave, you would still stay, and that removed your value. Not your worth, your perceived value, because value is not about what you give. It's about what people feel they might lose. And when there is no risk of losing you, there is no reason to hold on to you. This is why they didn't fight for you, why they didn't chase you, why they didn't try to fix things. Not because you didn't matter, but because they never felt like they could lose you. You were always there, always understanding, always forgiving, always available. And that made you convenient, not special. Because being special requires effort. It requires intention. It requires choosing someone, even when it's not easy. But convenience requires none of that. It's effortless. It's comfortable. It's replaceable. And once you see that difference, everything changes. You stop blaming yourself. You stop questioning your worth. You stop wondering what you did wrong. Because you realize It was never about what you lacked. It was about what you allowed. You allowed unlimited access. You allowed one-sided effort. You allowed yourself to be available without expecting the same in return. And that created the situation. Not intentionally, but naturally, because people adapt to what you allow. They adjust to what you tolerate. They respond to the level of effort you require. And if you require nothing, they give nothing. If you accept everything, they do everything. And if you stay no matter what, they never feel the need to stay for you. This is the shift you need to understand. Being valued is not about giving more. It's about limiting what you give. It's about creating boundaries. It's about showing that your presence is not guaranteed, that your time is not unlimited, that your energy is not free. Because when you do that, you change the dynamic. You move from being convenient to being selective, from being available to being valuable, from being taken for granted to being respected. And that doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming aware. Aware of how much you give. Aware of who you give it to. Aware of whether it's being returned, because not everyone deserves your effort. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves access to you. And the moment you realize that, you stop trying to be special to people who only see you as convenient. You stop chasing. You stop overgiving. You stop proving your worth because you understand something important. You don't become special by giving more. You become special by being selective, by not being easy to access, by not being easy to replace, by not being available all the time. Because what is rare is valued, and what is always available is taken for granted. This is not about changing who you are. It's about changing how much you allow. Because your kindness is not the problem. Your lack of limits is. Your willingness to give without boundaries is. And once you fix that, everything shifts. You stop being the person who is always there, and you become the person who is there when it matters. You stop being convenient, and you become intentional. And in that shift, you find something powerful: self-respect. Because the moment you stop allowing yourself to be used for convenience is the moment you start valuing yourself. And when you value yourself, others begin to notice. They adjust. They change how they treat you, not because you asked them to, but because your behavior showed them how. And those who don't adjust, those who leave, those who disappear, were never meant to stay. They were only there for what you provided. And once that stopped, so did they. And that's the final truth, the harsh one, the one that changes everything. You were never special to them. You were convenient. But now you have a choice: to stay in that role or to walk away from it, to continue giving without limits, or to take your power back. Because once you see the truth, you can't go back to the illusion. And once you choose yourself, you stop being convenient, and you start becoming someone who is valued, not for what you give, but for who you are.